Hi, and welcome to another SEO Hangout with Josh Bachynski. That would be myself. Welcome. It is February the 13th, so today is SEO Valentine's Day. That's right, it is the day of SEO love. And for all of my regular viewers today, I have more SEO love for you from the Mueller and the Cuts. So it is the Mueller and the Cuts day. For here comes your SEO love from the Mueller and the Cuts as filtered through moi. Also, I'd like to apologize for the paraphernalia in my background there. I haven't moved. That's Biff looking at the big black monolith thing. That's his pedestal he sits on. He's a martial arts thing. It's not a weird sex thing. Trust me. Believe me. I just haven't moved him to the dojo yet. Okay, so anyway, SEO love. So here's what the stuff we have from John Mueller and Matt Cutts, or John Cutts and Matt Mueller. So John Mueller, a lot of really interesting things actually. So I'll get right to it. So on February 10th, Mr. Mueller had another hangout, and he mentioned a number of actually pretty interesting things. I'll just go through them. So the first one here is about Google+. And someone asked about spamming Google+, and if Google cares about that. And he said, yes, of course, the Google+ team does and will aggressively look for fake followers. They'll look for fake followers. They will look for fake interactions, fake +1s, all those kinds of things. But not only that, he says he's right out admitted that the web spam team is also worried about this. I repeat, he directly admitted that the web spam team, not the Google+ team, the web spam team was also worried about people spamming Google+. Now, why, do I ask, would the web spam team be worried about people spamming Google+? Well, this obviously confesses, this obviously admits that the web spam team is using Google+ for rankings, or if they're not now, they will very shortly in the future, as we all know, and they've already said, and they've already admitted. What exactly kind of signals are they going to be using? Well, he did mention the context of this question was getting fake followers, having fake +1s, having fake discussions, and all those kinds of things. So that can tell us a lot about what they're going to be using and what is going to be part of the ranking algorithm for Google+ as it relates to web search for Google. So that leads to the question, well, how do I find what signals are those going to be? How do I optimize for social SEO or for SEO through Google+? Well, it looks like, based on this, what John Mueller has leaked for us, is that it looks like you want to make sure you're followed by more people and better people. So you want to be followed by as many people as possible, and you want to be followed by the people who are followed by people as well. So you don't want to be followed by 10,000 people who have no followers. You want to be followed by, a couple thousand people or a couple hundred people who have a couple hundred, a couple thousand followers. That would be ideal. Or as much of that as possible, as much critical mass there as possible. You want to look organic on all levels. You don't want to be fake-looking conversations. Google+ and the web spam team would quickly catch you if you had 10,000 followers who had no followers themselves, or like 1 or 2 followers themselves. Secondly, you want to interact, comment, and chat as much as possible and as organically as possible. Not just saying stupid things like, they've already got algorithms that are very good at detecting like comment spam on blogs and whatnot. So that's not the kind of, if you're going to try and black hat that, it's not the kind of level you need to go at. You need to go at a much higher level. I find it's almost easier just to get people to do it for real. In this particular case, at least I've found it easier that way. If you're a really good programmer, maybe you can find it easier to do it a different way. But that's, for me and for the clients, for my clients, we do it all by hand, and we get really good results in terms of interaction and shares and comments and people talking and +1s and things like that. Not only on Google+, but on all the different networks. Of course, you want to get your website shared on different people's social accounts. These want to be real-looking people with thousands of followers, like the big influencers. If an influencer shares your website, you can count that as useful probably right now, and definitely moving forward in 2014 as like a PR, whatever, 2 or 3 or 4 a link, definitely, I think it's going to help you out now. I think it would definitely help you out in the future. And then after that, John Mueller laughingly, comedically, said, but of course, he outright denied that Google Plus had any ranking benefit or will have any ranking benefit ever in the future. And so this is actually, and he outright avoided saying that they use Google Plus for ranking, and he kind of gave his canned answer, where, you know, like we don't use any signals, there are no signals, you know, don't look behind the curtain kind of thing. So this is kind of interesting in that historically, for those people who've been in the game for a long time, you know, doing SEO, you'll know that back in the day when PageRank came out, they told us to go make links. Because that way they can get a much better idea semantically what a page is about, because there's 1,000 links pointing at it that said red apples, and they thought, oh, I guess this page is about red apples. And it has red apples on the page, therefore if A matches B, then it's about whatever they say, right? And so they told us to make links because they needed us to make links so that Google would work. So after that happens, now they've completely abandoned us. And so they would used to really proudly announce and write papers and publish papers. You know, they don't really do that anymore. Now their policy, very interestingly, historically speaking, and also moving forward, analyzing what Google says and does, is that they outright deny what it is that actually it is they're doing. So their canned answer, I've heard John Mueller say it about 100 times, and Matt Cutts about 20 times, and Matt Cutts less, only because I don't bother listening to him, is that whatever it is they're outright denying, or what they're carefully avoiding saying, and they say have the same answer they say again and again, is likely what they are doing. Pay very close attention when they give that canned answer. Like, for example, John Mueller will say, we don't use anything like Google Analytics bounce rate in our algorithms. And that's, whenever he asks, do you use user metrics? Do you use anything like bounce rate? We do not use anything like analytics bounce rate. Even if they didn't even ask if it was analytics bounce rate, he said, we do not use anything like the Google Analytics bounce rate. So clearly they're using something there. We all know what they're using. I've reported many times what they're using. If you want to see, if you want to know about what they're using there in terms of user metrics, by all means, email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at joshbachynski. Or you can find all kind of videos like this talking about that, and tons of other cool SEO leaks and experiments and crazy secrets I've found out on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/jbachynski, J-B-A-C-H-Y-N-S. Okay, moving right along. So that was the Google Plus team, blah, 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 blah. So that's their new political policy, so it's very interesting. Whatever they outright deny or avoid saying carefully is probably what they're doing. Okay, here's another interesting thing, is that Google tracks duplicate content. John Mueller admitted that Google tracks duplicate content on their sites, sites that you own or /are associated with, and they will automatically choose the canonical or the best or the most authoritative version, or the version they want to think is canonical. How they do that, in my opinion, and through my experience that I found out and things I've said in the past, that's associated via the links pointing at it, the IP addresses of all the different websites, if they're all on the same subnet or all on the same IP address, if they all have the same content, if they have the same registration, if they have duplicate design, or if they have duplicate content or contact information, then they will, that's when the algorithm usually triggers, and they usually choose to auto-concatenate all those. Not only that, but they also will do that for index pages, for example. Like, say, for example, your web server or your content management system would serve a 200, so a proper HTTP status of proper content served. That's a 200 message as opposed to a 301 message or a 404 message, which you guys have probably heard about as well. If you serve 200 on / or /index.html or index.htm or index.php or default.htm or start.php, if basically anybody goes to any of those default web server Apache or IIS web server default pages and they get a 200 and the same content, Google will automatically concatenate the ranking signals for all those as well, which is the same as if you just go to redapples.com or if they go to www.redapples.com. Google's smart enough to concatenate all that. They'll also concatenate that across duplicate designs or same IP addresses if it's the same content, those kinds of things. That's what John Mueller was talking about. Now, later on in the Hangout, here's the another interesting part. Later on in the Hangout, John Mueller admitted that if they detect it as the same site or the same content that moved from site A or place A to site A or page B, even without a 301 or a rail canonical or a meta index forward or a JavaScript forward, no forward at all between site A that seemingly moved to site B, he said their algorithm will still make a decision as to whether or not to forward the link and ranking signals from site A to site B, even if there is no 301. Usually in this context of the discussion, he was talking about when they're duplicated or highly similar. So that I found fascinating as well. You don't even need a 301. Google will think, oh, okay, so this is very difficult, and who knows how good this algorithm is. This presents all kinds of interesting questions and possibly problems. So let's say site A is scraped by scraper site. Does scraper site suddenly, and this site goes off, do they get all your page rank and linking stuff because you drop this page? Even if this page, it's even worse. This page over here, your site over here, could have got a penalty, partially because scraper site over here scraped you. So then you did your business, and then Google can decide, oh, I guess they're going to get all the link juice now from this site that was over here. Is that how it works? It could be that bad, or is it page, or is it the site? Or like the structure, but they've talked about doing this with just a page as well. So there's all kinds of interesting questions of how that would work, and ways that academically, theoretically, how it would work, and things like that. So they've got to get it wrong sometimes. There's also, you've got to imagine bad for a site that's trying to get rid of a penalty. So you have site A that got a penalty, and you want to move it to site B. So you get rid of this site with the penalty, but you move the same content to, so I have redapples.com over here, and I register redapples.net, and I take down redapples.com trying to get rid of that penalty I had here. But do they forward the link juice, and is the link juice good or bad that they forward? So it's very difficult. This could be sometimes why when people try that, this new site here doesn't seem to want to rank for some reason, very stubborn for a good 6 months, sometimes even a year. That could possibly be the reason why. It's because Google thought you just screwed up and thought they'd be pals, thought they'd be nice, and automatically forward all the link juice and ranking signals, including the penalties that the other site had. Or maybe they think that maybe they do that on purpose. Maybe they're being even extra punitive and thinking, no, you can't get away from us. You can't just register another domain. That would be extremely prickish of them, even more than normal, which is saying something, I might add. So, So anyway, I don't know how far that goes, but John Mueller admitted it, and he's mentioned it before, but now he talked a little bit more about it, so it was very interesting. So just FYI, if you do want to change domains properly, just while I'm on the topic, here's a reminder of the 3 things that you need to do to make sure that the algorithm forwards the link juice, if indeed that is what you want. 1, you have to make a domain level page-by-page 301, preferably. So if you have redapples.com/product/blue and you want to do redapples.net/product/blue, that's the page level 301 that should happen, page-to-page 301. That's the best way to preserve your page rank and all your pages that we're ranking and whatnot. Otherwise, you can just do a generic redapples.com/star, whatever there is, just 301 that to redapples.net. You can do that as well, but that's not as good as the page level 301. You're not done yet, though. Sometimes that's enough for Google to pick it up, but not always, especially these days with a lot of people buying age domains and trying to 301 them to new domains and stuff like that. Google specifically made this enhancement in Webmaster Tools to try and combat that. And so your 301 is not always going to work. In my experience, it works about 50% of the time. Some people think it works all the time, and they've just gotten lucky. I've tried it. I've never gotten to work. Some guys have tried it and gone to work. I don't know. Maybe they know something that I don't. Admittedly, there's so many different tactics. I don't have time to test every single one to the nth degree. I try it once, can't get it to go, but forget it and move on kind of thing. But I have talked with other people and talked with other people in the industry that 301s don't always work. And so to make sure that they work, you have to do this next step. And this is that you have to register the second domain in Webmaster Tools and keep the old domain for a while. And you have to do an official change of address in Webmaster Tools from the old domain to the new domain that you want to pick up all the signals from. That tells Google that, yes, these are both my sites. Yes, it's not a negative SEO attack. Yes, I know what I'm doing, and I want to forward the signals. The 301's not some kind of mistake or something like that. Finally, you have to do this as well. You have to do all 3 things to make sure that it works. The last thing you need to do is change some or all of the links to point to the new site. So all of the links that you can control, the footer, links that you may have had or something like that, that make perfect sense. The directory links you might have had or something like that. Whether or not those are safe or not is another matter entirely. You can have some percentage of them as long as they're not aggressive search phrase anchor text. If they're not search phrase anchor text, including if you don't have an exact match domain, because that's a search phrase domain, right? As long as you don't have that, you can have up to 40% footer links and sidebar links and reciprocal links and directory links and things like that. As long as you're not going really over 40%, as long as it's not aggressive search phrase anchor text. You go too high on either of those scales, search phrase anchor text or too high percentage of that's all you have in your backlink profile, including press releases and things like that. Then you start getting in trouble. Those kinds of links, you start getting in trouble from the manual team. It bubbles up and they see that's all you have in your backlink profile, footers or press releases or sidebar links, especially if those are followed. And then you start getting in Penguin trouble if it's aggressive anchor text as well. Or you can get to both. So, yes, so you want to, anyway, so if you want to make the 301 work properly, the last thing you need to do is you want to change some or all of those links, put into the new site. This gives Google strong signals that the 301, yes, I'm going to move it. The Webmaster Tools, yes, I decided to move it. It's not some negative SEO attack, or it's not some, I didn't, buy something, and, it's not some kind of shady thing going on. You can trust it, and then move some links over, and then they go, oh, okay, this is the new site, and people are already linking to it. So, yeah, let's recognize all the past ranking signals, good or bad. And bear in mind, if you have bad ranking signals, they're going to get picked up. The 301, like 1 time out of 10 might save you from some penalties, but usually they come back, and usually it routes the Penguin penalties as well. If you want to get rid of Penguin, there's only 2 ways that I know of, kind of a workaround that I've been using lately, that I've been mentioning in a couple of videos, that can get rid of Penguin in as short as 2 or 3 days. Yes, I said getting rid of Penguin in as short as 2 or 3 days. It still works. It's not 301ing. It's not deleting pages. It's not changing domains. So if you want to know what that is, by all means, email me, joshbachynski@gmail.com. I have to keep it very, very secret because it is kind of a tricky hack. And if it gets out there, I've already seen it rumbling in some certain places, but if it gets out there in full, Google's going to catch wind of it and they're going to cut that off really quick. But the other way of getting rid of Penguin is going and deleting and disavowing links, and takes forever, and then have to rerun Penguin. And it's extremely dangerous, and you will damage your rankings because you have to delete links, and the links are things holding you up. So when you delete them, you're going to go down. So try the hack out first, and make sure to contact me if you have a site hit by Penguin. Okay, now what's the next thing? The next thing is iframes. Just interesting little point. Iframes, it's like kind of like a block where you can pull from another page and it inserts it into your page. It's iframe tag. It's been around since like HTML3, I think, so like for the last 12 years. So you probably should know about it. Sometimes John Mueller mentioned he was asked, how do we handle iframes? And he says that Googlebot is essentially a Chrome browser. So he said that before. So basically whatever Chrome can see on that page, whatever it renders to the canvas, to use web design speak, is what they think is on that page. And if it doesn't render the canvas, but it's still in the HTML, that's what's hidden. That's considered hidden or cloaking, right? Hidden keywords or whatever. So he says that sometimes when it renders to the page, they consider the iframe just as part of that page, and they'll consider that content as part of your page. So if you're using it to avoid some kind of duplicate content or something like that, you may not be doing the trick. Otherwise, sometimes he says that they don't. So if it's rendering to the canvas, they probably use it as content as part of that page. So that was interesting as well. He mentioned a lot of stuff, so I got a lot of interesting things just to go through, so I'll just keep going. So the next one is, he said, and I quote, "For the moment, we don't use HTTPS as a ranking signal." And I repeat, he said, and I quote, "For the moment," bold, italic, underline, "we do not use HTTPS as a ranking signal." And end quote. But he mentioned it 2 weeks past already that they're thinking about HTTPS, and he suggested every single webmaster should now be serving their site in HTTPS. That's SSL, it's Secure Socket Layer, HTTPS protocol. And so my prediction, and I'm pretty sure, is they're going to treat it like speed. So if you don't do it, it's going to be a trust factor probably, or maybe they'll have a separate algorithm to determine it, and it's going to be like speed, or it's going to be either Panda's going to hit you with that, or it's going to be part of the Panda weight check marks in the low quality column. Or it's going to be, because he keeps mentioning it based on usage and users are expecting to see this, he keeps saying. So, so it's probably going to be some kind of Panda or usage quality algorithm kind of thing, which as far as I know is pretty much just Panda and the page layout algorithm at this point. And the negative co-citation, the bad merchant algorithm too. Probably you could call that a quality algorithm, I suppose. It's talking about the supposed quality of your site. The supposed quality of your e-commerce store. So those are the algorithms I can think off the top of my head that would be quality related for Google that I know of. Of course, they have tons of algos. Who knows? Yes. So again, you might consider starting moving to HTTPS if you can't already, because don't be surprised in the next couple months when they suddenly, now we have, it's one of our requirements for our web guidelines, blah, 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 and they won't say exactly, but it'll be some kind of demotion. So I'll need to start checking it in my my SEO reports as well that I do, my 5-hour analyses, which are extremely detailed and comprehensive, I might add. In fact, I've seen some reports that cost far more than mine by Marketing Ninjas or some SEO company, and mine's far better. It's not as fancy looking. I didn't have a designer design the Word document, but it's far better. Anyway, now that I'm done tuning my own horn. Okay, so the next interesting thing he said is that for all you people looking out there for domain names, and domain names are getting really scarce, and you're trying to find that perfect domain name, but somebody already has it, you don't necessarily have to go and spend $5,000 on a stupid domain name because you like the branding of it or something like that. He said, and I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, that you can use CCTLDs, that's country code specific top-level domains. Country code specific domain names like .ca or .pl or .it. You can use those for generic ranking, John Mueller admitted, but don't do any geo-targeting past that. So you can use CCTLDs, but if you do domain targeting past the domain name, like if you give it a contact, if you register redapples.it, but say your contact information is in Italy, well, then they'll assume that you're an Italian site and relevant only to Italian searchers. But if you register redapples.it, or because you're an IT company, you register, say you're an IT company, you register redapples.it, and you say your contact information is in the States, and you say, or Canada, not in Italy, and you say, you've got a blog and stuff like that, or don't have any contact information, although that's a poor quality signal from the Panda perspective, as far as I know, not having contact information. But if you know your users are going to love your site, then you can afford not having contact information and keep it all generic. Don't go into Webmaster Tools and say you are only good for this or that. Or you should go into Webmaster Tools and say that you do not have a location specified. You can go to Webmaster Tools and specify a specific country that you're relevant for, or no country, which means you're relevant for global ranking. Those are the kinds of things you can do. So, sorry if that sounded a little convoluted, but the point is you can register that perfect domain name .ca or that perfect domain name .fr, and it doesn't have to be related to Canada or France, as long as you don't do any more geolocation signals on top of that. And Google will go, oh, okay, you want to rank globally, and so you don't have to pay $5,000 for redapples.com if redapples.it is open, redapples. Whatever is open, because they can rank it globally if they see that it is supposed to rank globally. Okay, I hope that saves some people some money. Okay, the next one is now attaching on to an idea that I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, is that Google is getting very smart at reading schema and structured data on your site to tell what you're about, whether this is a product listing or a sign-up page, or this is a syndicated blog content or article review, or all those kinds of data schema data types, microformat data types, which you should take a second and take a look and read, by the way, because I do a lot of these SEO 5-hour reports analyses, and 90% of the time, especially if you've installed WordPress and just haven't bothered to change it, that most of those installations are using an H-entry or H-atom microformat data, specified data, and that specifically is for syndicated or syndicatable blog content. So like RSS level quality syndicated blog content, and that's not necessarily the highest quality type. You can tell Google that you are. So I don't know if that has a factor or not. No one knows if they're really taking that into consideration, but every little bit will help. And they have mentioned not to get the structured data wrong. They have actually specifically for SEO ranking, when Hummingbird came out, John Mueller did mention not to get the Hummingbird data wrong. It's like what Matt Cutts said about duplicate meta tags and title tags. He said he would rather that for SEO ranking, it's better to have no structured data or meta tags or title tags than to have duplicated meta tags or title tags or the wrong structured data. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to start going faster because I don't want this video to go too long, but there's just so much interesting little leaks that they've given recently. Okay, now, so what was the point about that? This is the point, is that not only, so this is what John Mueller, so John Mueller's admitted that in the past. Now, John Mueller recently admitted on this hang I've been talking about on February the 10th, I believe it was, that not only will they take reviews and Schema and any information they can understand, including negative co-citations, including negative remarks about some business and or some URL, not only will they take that from your website, they will take it from any website that they can understand it, and they will apply it to you if it associates with you. If some website out there, like Wikipedia, for example, but even some other one, like Newswire or whatever, said that redapples.com is a crappy thing, that's their bad merchant algorithm, and they will associate that negativity with redapples.com or Red Apples Inc., and they know that Red Apples Inc. is the business associated with redapples.com. They're getting smarter. That semantic latent indexing with the new Hummingbird algorithm, which remember was a complete rewrite of the original algorithm, is smart. It learns like Skynet. It will send a Terminator. That's him right there. There he is. I killed him. Don't worry. He's dead. But he might come alive. That'd be kind of scary, actually, if he moved or if the cat came into my office and bumped him. I'd jump and scream like a girl. And then I'd be embarrassed because it would have been recorded. So that was terrifying. And I mean, I already knew they did that, but then he admitted it so frankly. That in itself is terrifying as well. So you got to watch out what people are saying about you, like I said before. I mentioned this before, the SEO Moz, or now it's called Moz. I keep calling it SEO Moz because I'm old school. Moz does have, or they did, I don't know if they still do, they have a tool that does brand dimensions. You can use it to check out negative co-citation as well. They released it around the same time as that was all talked about. So you can check that out. Okay, I'm running out of time. So yeah, you have to check that out and watch what people are saying about you and watch what content you have specified in a directory somewhere. Your contact information is wrong because they'll read it, right? If you have no contact information on your website and you have the wrong contact information on some directory somewhere and they've associated that, when people do a Google Maps search, they'll pull the information from that wrong directory listing if you don't have it on your website. And even if the directory is more trustworthy or authoritative than you, and you have a penalty on your site, they still might trust that content more, even though it's wrong, than the actual address you actually have on your website. Unless you put that into Google Places, they will, of course, trust their own website, Google Places, above pretty much anything else. And good luck trying to change Google Places. Those people who know changing your local listing can be difficult, you can change it in 6 months later if they still haven't bothered to update it. Again, because of that trust factor they put on their own site. Okay, now, there's more. I'm not done yet. There's tons of leaks going on here. Okay, the next thing that John Mueller mentioned is that Google will flag a site when it has an explosion of new internal URLs. So people have suspected for a long time that, does Google care about new URLs? If you add 10,000 pages to your site, all of a sudden, does Google care about that? Well, the answer is yes, of course they do. Number of internal pages is a huge ranking factor. In fact, in my opinion, these days, it's probably one of the biggest ranking factors. So yes, of course they care about it. They were going to track whether or not you're trying to manipulate it. But You don't have to worry about it. He said, John Mueller said that they will do a check for garbage pages. So if they see that you've had an explosion of 10,000 new pages or 1,000 new pages, that will automatically schedule you for a panda check, so to speak. They will check for garbage pages. So adding a bunch of new pages is fine. That's perfectly fine. You can add 10,000 pages to your site. You just have to make sure that they're not garbage pages. That they're not duplicated or they're not duplicated in purpose. So it's not like red shoes, blue shoes, pink shoes, polka dot shoes, periwinkle shoes. You know, they're not duplicating content. They're not duplicated in purpose. They're not garbage pages. They're not garbage text. They're not spun or user-generated crap pages. As long as that's not what's happening, or it's not your search, bot going crazy and allowing Google to access pages that should be no indexed and no followed, and roboted out. Because in that particular case, they'll probably just spider the pages, give you the 10,000 pages, give you the ranking boost for having 10,000 extra pages with the internal page rank and the long tail rankings for those 10,000 pages. And then they'll just, in the URL parameters, they'll just remove that. And then you'll lose all those rankings. Not only for the 10,000 pages, but the boost the rest of the site got from having 10,000 extra pages with all that internal page rank juice and just this size of site bonus that they seem to have anyway. So be careful of that. You never want to lose any pages. If you get them to accept 10,000 more pages that aren't garbage or not going to hurt you for Panda, you should try and keep them because you're going to get all those benefits, right? Okay, oh my goodness, it's been 31 minutes according to that. Okay, so that's all I can get to today. There's even more interesting stuff, and then I had stuff from cuts. I didn't even get to the cut stuff. So that's going to be it for today, but join with me next week. That is the end of SEO Love, but join with me next week, and I can reveal some more leaks from Mr. Mueller and Mr. Cuts indeed. So, so that's the end of SEO Love today. As I mentioned, there is an SEO Love present, and that is, again, my Penguin hack, my Penguin fix. Contact me, and I can try and help you out with that. Again, it's very sensitive. I can't just give this thing out for free to anybody who asks because it's going to be on every forum. But I will definitely help you try and get that fixed. And that's my SEO Love present to you from me and the Search Terminator that I slew right there. Biff is his name. And the cat, you can see over, oh, sorry, it's backwards from my monitor. The skinless cat that haunts the office. We're welcoming you, we're wishing you SEO Love, and we'll see you next week. Good luck in the service. Bye-bye.